Okay, welcome back. Last day, day three. Today we're going to talk about business and numerology. Some of the things I'm going to teach you, let me preface this by saying all of the things, not some of the things, all of the things I'm going to teach you today, you're going to need in your business, whether you use them through the lens of numerology or some other way. I'm going to teach you, I'm calling it the business of numerology. It's not separate from any other business. I just find that when you bring numerology into it, it's more powerful, it's more effective, it's easier, it works better. But these principles I'm going to be sharing are timeless. So today's class is going to be very workshop oriented. I really am hoping that with each of the points I'm going to share and teach today, you guys are going to be like coming up with answers on how you can incorporate this into your work. So this will be a smaller group. I always find that day three, you don't get as many people on the live, which is totally fine and totally normal. But that means we have space for interactions, for questions, to customize this to your unique situation. So unmute, ask questions, comment in the chat, take this time to get as much out of this class as you feel you need, right? Like I'm here for you, so use it. Any questions before we get started on any of this? Okay, let me just start out by asking how many of you already have a business, whether it's your full-time income, part-time income, a side gig, whatever it is. Comment yes in the chat if you already have an existing business, even if it's only making a few $100s a month, it doesn't matter, right? Side gig, yes, 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 amazing. Does anybody not have a business but want one? If that's you, comment me in the chat just so I know where we're all at. Everybody here already has a business. Great. It doesn't matter. This class would be useful for you either way, but it's just kind of helpful to know where we're at because those of you who already have a business in place, you already likely have some degree of niche. Would I be accurate in saying that? You already kind of know who you help, what you can help with, what you're meant to support with. You probably already have a tool or a modality or some kind of practice that you use. Okay. Does anybody want to share either out loud or pop it in the chat? And if you're still refining it, that's totally fine. If you're still refining it, you might just think to yourself, like, in the past year, who are my top two or three favorite clients that I worked with? Okay. And if you don't really know the answer to that question, even just thinking to yourself, who do I wish I could work with? Who would I like to work with? And just kind of have that in your mind as we're going through today's call. But if you want to share in the chat what your niche is or what your service is, that would be great because then I can use you as an example. Otherwise, I'll just make up generic examples, but it's helpful. Ooh, feminine form Ayurveda, yoga, and somatic work. That, I freaking love that, Natasha. That's wonderful. I'm a little familiar with Ayurveda in that one of my besties is an Ayurvedic coach as well. So I can hopefully give you some good examples for that. Anybody else have examples they want me to reference? Yes, Carly. Oh, do you know Carly? Oh, good. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Every time you hear me referencing number four, I'm talking about Carly, just so you know. She's such a good four. It's so great. Uh, Beginning with numerology, yes, and going back to Reiki. Numerology and Reiki go so well together. Same with numerology and EFT tapping. I love the combo of both of those. Um, yes, those committed to knowing themselves and dropping their emotional baggage, stepping into their life purpose, beautiful. And you're a four, of course. The fours love the physical practices. It's so needed, right? That connection to the body. Beautiful. Okay, this gives me a few things to work on. Anybody else who wants to pop in examples or their niche or even like niches they're exploring, like use this as a great brainstorming container, right? Let's roll with it. Okay, so I'm going to give you an overview of a basic business model I call my three-stage business model. And it's very simple, which is what I love about it, because it's very customizable in that. And you get to take it and make it your own. But this sort of structure or framework that I'm going to share with you, in my mind, is the best, probably the only way to build a product. I know that's kind of a bold statement, but I can't think of a model that this doesn't isn't the most helpful way to create sustainability in income. My goal, I'm a single mom. You guys probably already know that. I'm a single mom. I've got three kids, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, excuse me, and a 14-year-old. So, sustainable income that's like consistent and predictable, as well as like needing to have my time leveraged is so important because like when the kids are sick, what are you going to do? Most people who have young children struggle to work like a quote unquote 40-hour work week, which is like so arbitrary. Like who came up with this number? You know, I won't go on any of those rants right now. But even if that's not your story, right? Even if you are just like, I want some balance in my life, right? The current model that many people follow doesn't really allow for the spaciousness to enjoy pieces of our life. And so the model that I teach is the goal is to get you there, right? Where you have a bit more leverage, but you still have this value of being of service and deeply connected to your client base. Okay. Does that sound helpful? Okay. So 3 stages. Stage number 1, everybody needs this: client attraction. You cannot have a business without client attraction. Other names for this might be lead generation, marketing. Basically, it's client attraction. How do you bring people into your world? How do they know you exist? How do they know if your work is a fit for them? How do they know if what you're offering is going to even work for them? Right? All of this fits under the category of client attraction. And client attraction, you know, people have this feeling sometimes of like, well, I'll put up a website or I'll start posting a couple days a week on social media and poof, I'll have clients. And I hate to say it, but it doesn't work that way. Most of you probably know that already. If it was only that easy. There's more to it than that. Your client attraction strategy, there's a few rules it serves. Number one, it's a filter. It's a filter so that when people come into your world, they get to feel out your energy to decide, is this person a fit for me or not? Is there a values alignment? Is there any sense of resonance? Do we connect in any way? You know what I mean? Like a perfect example for me is I do not like receiving coaching advice, particularly business coaching advice from people who don't have kids. I just don't. They might have valid points. I'm not saying they don't, but what happens is my brain throws up this excuse of like, yeah, easy for them to say they don't have kids. And so I can't learn from them. And like, okay, good. I know that. So why try to fight it? I'll just find business coaches with kids. That it's just easier for me. So when I see business coaches sharing and posting content or emailing about their family or what they did on the weekend with their kids or how they fit their client schedule in and around school drop-offs, I'm like, great, that's a person who gets what my life looks like. I can learn from them. Okay, so it creates this filter where we are going to attract the clients who are aligned with us, and it can work on a surface level like the example I just shared. However, you can take it a step deeper with the energetics as well. Okay. When you know what your codes are, you know why people want to be in your energy, right? So even Natasha sharing that she's a 4, one of her gifts is going to be embodiment. One of her gifts is going to be like the physical structures and the routines that connect people to their body. And that's what people are going to get as medicine from her. And, obviously like yoga and Ayurveda, those are very embodied practices and they do have a structure to them. So that's a natural fit. But you could tell me any other niche and I would show you how the embodiment and physical aspect of it is important if you are a four in that niche, right? Because that is part of your natural gift. Someone who's a three, as Christine's posting in the chat, you are a natural manifester and abundance flows very easily to you. So people will be drawn to you for your creative nature, for your ability to, like, it's like the snowball effect, right? Things kind of flow and build very quickly with the three. It can go both ways, right? Like sometimes threes are like, bah, I'm snowballing into the like, you know, overthinking stage or whatever, right? But it's like that's the power of the three is like that snowball effect. And so part of the three's work, regardless again of what their niche is like, well, how do I keep the snowball rolling in the right direction? How do I use my power of creativity and manifestation for good, right? And how do I continue to help my clients come back to that reminder of the natural state of their own abundance? Those are very three traits. Okay. 11 is a connector. So the 11s are really fun because they're 11 and 2, right? So you can look at the double one, which is kind of like this idea of, I'm going to say spiritual leadership. You don't have to be in a spiritual niche. Um, if you're an 11, if you are in a spiritual niche, it's not surprising because often 11s are, right? But what it means is you have this like deeper connection to the meaning of life, the purpose of life, why we're here, and you're kind of like you're more connected to like the soul level concepts of things, whether the 11 is teaching it directly or not. They're looking for this greater meaning and the greater why of things. And then there's like that soul connection piece, right? So oftentimes people want to be around 11s because they want to understand like what's beneath the surface of true connection, right? What connection to God and source, connection to my people, like soul family, like what is this all about and why are we here, right? Yes, we got some sixes on the call as well. And Tina's also a six. She shared a little bit about herself the other day. Sixes are the lover, they're the harmonizers. They are here to bring balance. They are here to embody both this beautiful yin and yang quality of smoothing out the rough edges in life. I always say it's so good to be loved by a six. One of my besties who's a six, we travel together a lot, and she always has purse snacks for me, and that's such a classic six trait. They want to like make sure that the people around them are loved and cared for. So it's very nurturing, it's very caring, it's very aware of balance and harmony. And what that means is like hyper aware when there's a lack of balance and harmony and how disruptive that can be and how grating that can be. And so again, if you're a six, your people are craving that from you. They're seeking that from you, and they either want to learn how to have that from you or learn how to create that from you or be able to receive that from you in some way, shape, or form. The tens are the innovators, right? They are here to innovate. They are on the cutting edge. They champion change. But it's not about constantly changing. It can happen with the 10, but it can sometimes feel like a bit of a shadow. It's more of like, I see what's happening and I'm going to innovate and improve it and tweak it and adjust it. So sometimes the tens feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm never landing on anything. Like it's hard to finish a sales page. It's hard to finish a website. It's hard to pin down on my branding because I'm constantly changing as I go. But it's innovation. And the thing about the 10 is like, you can do your offers without that. You can let yourself be in the creative flow, right? You can let yourself innovate and speak to it, right? Speak to the benefits of it not being quote unquote pinned down, right? How you get to evolve and innovate and grow based on the current data that you're picking up at the time. The ruling number two, so beautiful, is all about connection and intuition. The reason why two speaks to connection and intuition is because intuition, the way I look at it, is connection with the unseen, right? Connection either with, it depends how you perceive your intuition, right? Connection with like guides and spirit and ancestors, connection with energy fields that are flowing around you, connection with the quantum realm. And what does the quantum realm mean? Like Quantum just means infinitely tiny, right? So like particles you can't see, right? Which is energy, right? Particles you can't see, it's energy. It's like, the waves and the particles, like take it back to quantum physics. It's like the little bits that are so small they can't really be seen and picked up on. We might personify that and make it into like God or angel or whatever. Or we might be like, no, I like thinking of it in flow and energy. Up to you. But the two is the connection to it in whatever way you would want to describe it. The two is also going to be about connection with people and resources. And it's like it's bridging, bringing things together, connecting things, right? It's a beautiful energy as well. I mean, they all are. And you can hear in my description, like we need all of these. We need every single one of them. And that's why it's so important in my mind to own your codes. Because if we all were like, I sometimes get four envy, right? Because I just love their brilliant structures. If every one of us tried to emulate the four, the world would be one color, right? It's not the vibe. It's okay to be like, I need to learn these skills. There's sometimes I need to lean on those skills. However, what about me is perfectly designed, and how do I embrace and uplift that? And, the other thing to kind of keep in mind with, I'm going to say trends, I don't know if trends is the right word, but the world around us goes through cycles too, not just um, like 2025 is a nine energy year. Yes, but also generationally, right? So, and this is something you'll learn in practical numerology if you take the certification. There's trends that happen in generations. So, all of the people born in 19 something or other, particularly the 1950s, they all have the 1, the 5, and the 9 in their chart. And that carries a particular influence of starting things and finishing things. So it gives you this energy of why baby boomers and the generation raised by baby boomers is so focused on accomplishment, completion, proving value in like the what I've done, right? And why we've created this culture of like, what are your accomplishments? What does your resume say? What have you, and it's very much on the doing because the 1 and the 9 has influenced that generation so strongly, particularly again if they have the 5, as the 5 is right in the middle. However, all our kiddos who've been born in 2000 something, few of them have a 1 and a 9 in their chart. None of my children have a 1 and a 9 in their chart. Some of them have ones, none of them have nines. Most of my children have a lot of energy at the start, so in the 1, 2, 3 area. And I don't have, none of them have a lot of energy in the 7, 8, 9 area. Okay. And so when you think about that and you think about the way we like, joke like, oh, everyone, all the kids these days, they never finish anything. They never finish what they set out to do. They're not focused. They're not disciplined, like what the grandparents say about the grandkids these days or whatever. And it's like, okay, you as the 1900 people, like you have a certain value. And I say that I have that influence, the 159. It's in my chart as a 1980s baby. Um, but like that like drive to accomplish. Whereas the babies that are all born with the twos in their chart, every single one of these babies have twos. Some of them have two, three, four, five twos in their chart. Like I did a chart for a woman once at a market. She was born on February 20th, 2002. I think it was. So she had four twos and that's it. And her ruling number was an 8, right? And she's a young woman, obviously. Like I think when I did her chart, because this was years ago now, I think when I did her chart, I want to say she was like maybe high school age or just out of high school, right? And I was like, wow, said whatever I said about her chart, and you could see her face just be like she almost started crying because nobody had recognized how important that level of connection is for her. And it's like, who cares if we start and finish things? I actually only care about how people feel. And we can see that. We can see that in this generation. They care so much more about feelings, belonging or not belonging, like all the movements around connection and anti-bullying and being able to be whoever you are and be fully accepted for it. like that's in their charts, right? And you can narrow it down by being like, okay, so all the little babies born in 2025, they're all going to have two twos and a five. What is that going to influence that year with? What are some of the traits they're all going to carry? So I went on a tangent to talk about themes and trends, but the reason I'm bringing all of this up is let's bring it back to lead generation. If I know that I have these certain particular traits, so, you know, even if I just look at my chart, the 159 is about doing and accomplishing. But then the 7 is about intuition and walking in the unknown. So, whatever my niche, obviously, I'm a numerologist and a business coach. It's going to be about how do I create, do, and accomplish while focusing on my intuition and my inner guidance system and where I'm being led to go. And that's the medicine that I embody. So when I market in that language, the people who need my medicine will feel that and lean into that. They want to accomplish, they want to create things, they want to build something, they want to have something that they're proud of, but they want it to be fully honored by their energy and their intuition, right? So that's what I do. All of us have that. I'll use another example of a client, Anne Marie. She's got multiple ones that she attracts. So what I mean by that is she noticed in doing clients' charts that most of her clients had multiple ones in their chart. So for whatever reason, all these people of multiple ones are drawn to her. Multiple ones are the ideas generators. These are people who are full of ideas, right? And some of them might not know what to do with all their ideas or which one to pick or how to navigate. Or it's like they got all the ideas and they can brainstorm. But then when it comes to actually creating a plan of action, they freeze. So she started to speak to that in her marketing. And that's what she is now. She is the like business coach, heart-centered leadership person for the ideas generators who don't know how to turn it into a plan. And that's given her a very clear and specific niche that she speaks to. And she knows exactly how to help them. Right. And so when people hear her talking, oh, like, oh, you got all these ideas and you don't know what to do with them, they're like, oh, yeah, that's me. And they can lean in and they can sign up for her free stuff or download something from her website or book in for a call or whatever it is. That's her lead generation system. So you need a lead generation system regardless of how you're setting up your business. When you bring in numerology to it, you can create that kind of like energetic alignment based on, I call it like energetic niching. It's not going to tell you like, should I be in the health industry or should I be in the money industry? It's not going to tell you that. But it is going to tell you when you pick health or money or whatever industry you pick based on your experience, your education, how you feel it can help people, it will tell you what are the feelings, hopes, dreams, and fears that your people have, and how do I market in such a way to connect with them so that they know I can help them and I know I can help them. Make sense? So now that you guys have kind of thought through this a little bit, this is where I want to make it workshoppy. I want you to think about what I know about my ruling number and my niche. What are some of the little ways I can either tweak my communication or communicate to people to get at that? Does anybody want to share any examples in the chat? I'm just reading you guys' comments about your kids. My one daughter, she has what's her birthday? Um, two twos, a three, and a one. Two twos, a three, and a one. Yeah. And that's it. Two twos, a three, and a one. So she's not the kid that finishes what she starts. She starts all kinds of stuff and doesn't finish it. And if I didn't understand that about her, it could be a source of like shame or like frustration or whatever, right? And instead, it's like, that's just who she is. I can help her to understand, like, you still need to have discipline. It might not be your favorite, but like, you still need to like finish the book report and hand it in to your English teacher. Like, you can't just like read half the book and call it good enough. Like, there still is like follow through. And How do we get to encourage the part that you get the most enjoyment out of and not try to make you something that you're not inclined towards anyways, right? Like I always think it's so funny how we are in this school system. It's like, oh, you have a bad mark over here. This isn't your zone of genius. Let's put all our energy and attention into trying to make that better. Versus like, let's make it so you have enough skills to cope in that department. But like, oh wow, you're really strong over here. Why don't we actually just let you live that out? Right? Like, oh, it's wild. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Absolutely. If you're a 10, looking for idea generators, looking for innovation, change agents, that's beautiful. Ooh, I love that, Felicia. I'm a health and wellness coach, and my brand is Black Mama Wellness because I embody that. That's beautiful. And with the 4, it's so much about how does that feel in my system? And then how do I get to lead through that embodiment, right? That's just beautiful. Um, 6s are definitely about gentle change. Yeah, because they're nurturing and they're caregiving and they don't want like it's like the smooth they want to I always say the smoothing out the rough edges, right? So they don't like the sandpaper approach. Hmm. Beautiful. I love that, Natalie. Yeah, the manifesting. Yeah. I always say like the 3 is like adding fuel to the fire. So whether you look at it as like how's the snowball growing, adding fuel to the fire, or you can also look at it as the law of compound interest, right? Like we all remember the stories of like what happens when you put a penny a day in a jar, and right? And it grows really quickly, exponential growth over time. So that's also the 3 energy. Okay, lead generation. That's step 1. Do we all have some ideas around how we can conceptualize lead generation? I'm going to go into some specific examples using how you can use the numerology as a tool for lead generation. Number 1, my main one that I do every single month is I do a monthly forecast. This is so powerful that you can use. You don't have to tell people that you're doing a numerology forecast. You can, if you want to, you can, which is what I do, right? I do a numerology forecast every month. You can follow me on YouTube and you can listen to it on my podcast. Where I also have it up on my blog, depending on what style you like to listen to. But it's like, okay, January is a 1 energy month. Here's what you can expect. Here's activities that are helpful. Here's, ways that you might run into issues, and here's what to do about it. Here's certain activities that are, going to be more auspicious for you, going to create opportunity for you. And I give usually like a 20-minute, half an hour outline of what to expect. What are good dates? What to think about on certain windows of time. You will learn how to do numerology forecasting in that exact same way in the practical numerology certification. If you don't want to bill yourself as a numerologist, then what you do instead is you say to yourself, okay, let's use Felicia's example. Okay, so what was it? Black Mama Wellness. So she might think to herself, what is like 1 energy activities that I can encourage for the month of September that fits under the Black Mama Wellness brand, right? So it's all about fresh starts, new beginnings, planting seeds, visioning, setting a new goal. So she could take the 1 energy and speak to all of that for her content plan for the month. And people will feel it because they're already sensing that the 1 energy is about new beginnings and fresh starts. Then when we roll into February and it's all about 2, she can wrap her content around, okay, with the Black Mama Wellness brand, how can I create connection? So maybe it's about buddying up with people. Maybe it's about reaching out and getting mentorship. Maybe it's about bringing resources together to help you and talking about the importance of being well resourced in your wellness journey. That is a very energetically aligned topic that she could dive into for all of February that people would feel the resonance with. She wouldn't have to say it was based on numerology. She's just speaking her topic through the lens of the energy. Do you guys understand the subtle difference? You don't have to say where you're getting it from unless you want to. She could say in numerology, it's 2. It's all about connection. So this month we're going to focus on building connections and calling resources in, right? Or not. She could just say, this month we're going to focus on resources and connections. Either way. Okay. So that's the first one, forecasting. Doing those for free, doing them on your podcasts, your Instagram pages, newsletters, brochures, whatever, right? If you do monthly circles, they're a great way to create content for your monthly themes, for your monthly circles, your monthly gatherings. The second way under lead gen is to do mini blueprints. So a mini blueprint, you would use this if someone's like, I want to work with you, or I want to talk to you about what it would be like to work with you, or what are the options that you have available. So like a discovery call or a sales call or a getting to know you coffee, however you structure that in your business, a mini blueprint can help you position how you're going to help this person. So what a mini blueprint would do is look at the person's ruling number and the distribution of their energy on the energy grid, which we haven't talked in this class, but I do teach it obviously in the certification program. So an energy grid is like this tic-tac-toe sheet that shows you where your energy lies. And the examples I shared earlier about generation patterns, then the 159 and multiple ones, those are all influences you can pick up from the energy grid. So you can see it quick. Like it's something you can do back of an envelope. You don't need anything fancy to do it. And so if someone's sitting in front of me and they're like, okay, Megan, I had this just the other day. Okay, Megan, I've got this business idea and I want to grow it. How can you help me? And like, what do you think is a good plan for me? Well, the first thing I did is mapped out her grid really quick and be like, okay, this is your energy. You are a leader. You are meant to hold space. You are a speaker. You're meant to talk. You probably should think about writing a book. How that would fit into your business vision is XYZ. If you want my support, that looks like da 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 da. Let me know if you'd want to move forward with working together. Right. So it helps me like kind of like customize a proposal or a coaching plan based on what I see that person needs. And it gives us that conversational start of like, oh, I see here that speaking might be a good option for you. Like, is that something you've done before? Is that something you've considered? Would you like to do it more? And have that conversation to kind of just flesh out how is this person's vision going to unfold, right? So that is a format you would use in a discovery call to position anything, pitch, proposal, coaching. You can use it to position programs, whatever. But it helps you to see, how do I articulate to the person sitting in front of me where and how they're going to leverage the benefits from working with me? Because now it's like it's customized to them, right? It's not like a generic approach. So that's number 2 under client attraction. And number 3 under client attraction would be what I used for Felicia's example, which is energetically aligned content. So whether you speak to the numerology or not, framing your content around the energetic patterns that we're all experiencing as it applies directly to your niche, right? So it's like, oh, I'm in the health and wellness industry, or oh, I'm in the money industry, like whatever. And then framing the content around that, because whether people are aware of it or not, when they're in these energies, they're feeling something around them. And if you can put words to it, it creates that like, oh, I feel this resonance, right? Like I feel like you get what I'm feeling, even if I haven't been able to articulate it, which is super helpful. So of those 3, forecasting, mini blueprints, and aligned content, mark down on your sheet, if you're taking notes, which of these 3 feels like it could be a fit to help you with your client attraction strategies. And then let's jump into the next one. I'm like feeling like I'm moving a little slow again because I always have a lot to say. So just giving you the heads up, this might run longer than an hour. And if you have to leave, that's totally fine. You'll get the replay to catch the rest of it when you come back. But I just don't want to, yeah, thank you, Christine. Right? I'm like, if you guys are here and I'm here and we're talking, you might as well make the most of it. Excellent. I love that you guys are noticing these opportunities for you. Beautiful. Okay. Step two. It's my opinion every business needs a step two as well. Okay. Arguably, if you've been in business for a really long time, you could maybe skip over the step two. I don't know. I don't like it, right? I don't like it. I think step two is super important. So step two is an accessibly priced offer. Okay. What is accessible? That is going to be defined by your energy and your niche. It's different for everybody, right? Sometimes accessible is $300, right? Sometimes accessible is $59. It's something where your client doesn't really have to overthink the purchase. They don't have to like check their budget. They don't have to, ask their partner. They don't have to like really think through it. It's just kind of like if you've done a good job with your messaging and positioning and they're like, "Ooh, I want the thing." They just buy it. Okay? They don't have to like price is not a factor in the yes or the no. So like I said, for all of you this will be different. I do also feel like depending on your niche, it could sort of change over time, right? Like there's industry trends that kind of factor into this. And there's niches that are naturally, you know, I don't know, like what would be an example? I don't know if there tends to be like a lot of people say, oh, the money realm. Like if you can prove a strong ROI, you can naturally charge more. Yes and no. I've also seen like relationship coaches charge lots, right? To me, that might factor into some degree, but probably what factors in more than anything is your experience, your comfort with the price, and your ability to position, right? So when you're coming up with what is my accessible price point, what's the no-brainer price to you? And you can even think about your own buying habits. Like what is the price point below which or like around which you're like, I don't even really think about it. If I wanted to buy it, right? It's like, oh, it's around $100. Perfect. That's your accessible price point is around $100. If you're like, oh, it's around 200, 300. Okay, perfect. That's your point. It doesn't really matter. The point is you want something where both you and your client get to have a feeling as to whether this process is going to work for them. This step two is critical for building trust because so many people, especially I would say at this stage of kind of where the market is, um, they don't trust themselves. Have you guys noticed that? They're like, I want to be healthy, or I want to be more financially independent, or I want to have stronger intuition, or I want to have a better relationship with my kids, but I don't think it's going to work for me. Like I've tried stuff and it didn't work before. And when that happens, or it's not for me, or I can't have this, it's a lack of self-trust. So at the step two level, our job is to help them reestablish a sense of self-trust that like there is a system that can work for them. There is a modality, a process, or whatever that will align with their energy. It is possible for them to experience healing or growth or change or whatever it is that you're offering. And this is a way of for them to try it on without like fully committing all in to build that trust, right? It's like if you're going on a first date with someone, you probably would pick like a coffee shop or a wine bar versus like we're going to attend a 5 course 3 hour dinner at a high-end restaurant and now we're stuck together for the whole 3 hours even if we don't like each other, right? Like that's risky. It's risky for your client, but it's also arguably risky for you. Because if that happens, now they're gonna either want a refund, they might be unhappy, they might complain, or they might not, but they might have bad vibes. And we don't want bad vibes in our business. We want happy customers. Okay. So a step two, accessible price point. I also encourage if you're not at your income goal yet, let your accessible price product include FaceTime with you. And this is controversial. A lot of the advice out there is like, oh, if you're doing accessible price product, make it a video, make it a download, make it so that you don't have to spend time. Sure, that's one way to go about it. But even if you do a video or a download, give them some face-to-face time with you, even if it's a 15-minute consult or a follow-up something or other, or it's like they go through something that's not with you and then they come back and you guys review it together. That's a great way to do it as well. If you don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to spend an hour coaching, because what I really just need them to do is like learn this model and I already have a video on it. It's like, great, get them to watch the video, get them to learn the model, get them to fill out a worksheet or something. And a Google form is a great way to do it, because if they fill it out through a Google form, you have their data. And then say to them, come on a call with me and I will customize this plan for you. I've done this before with business plans where I get them to fill out an intake form that gives me all the information I would need to give them a business plan. Then I take my time with that information and come up with the business plan, and then book the call after to say, okay, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling. Let me hear how this fits and lands with you. And then that way, a business, like normally something like that might take me 2 hours on a call, but because I've made it into like fill out the form first and then let's hop on the call can be like half an hour to 45 minutes, right? So it's super valuable, maybe even more valuable, because then I actually sit with the information and like have time to make sense of it. So then they're probably getting a better answer from me like a couple days later when I hop on the call with them. So you can get creative with this. It doesn't just have to be, oh, well, it's a 1 hour session with me. I mean, it could be, that's a great option, but you can get creative and give a lot of value, because remember, the point of this is that they regain self-trust in themselves to get the outcome they want. If they leave that session being like, wow, I now feel like this thing I want is possible and I can have it and I can do it, then you've won. Because now they're going to buy it again, or they're going to buy your next product and your next service, which we'll get to in a minute, right? So, like when I do those business assessments, it's like the whole point being like, sure, now you've got this business plan, like take it and run with it if you want. But usually most people are like, well, like I want to do that, but like I need your brain. Like, great, let's work together, right? And now I can offer them a more expensive package. Or I can offer them group coaching, which is more leveraged of my time, right? So it's a positioning strategy. And I think a lot of people make the mistake when they come up with their stage 2 offer. They don't realize their stage 2 offer is just as much of a client attraction strategy as their free stuff, right? We need to be strategic with our stage 2, because I know I'm not the only one who's done this before, but if you filled your practice with one-off sessions, whether it's one-off readings, one-off energy healings, one-off coaching sessions, you can see like a max of 2 or 3 people a day, depending on your capacity and your bandwidth. I mean, the people like Reiki practitioners who see like 5 or 6 clients a day, I do not understand that. I couldn't do it. And it's just the phase of life I'm in right now with like, I had a friend once tell me, she's a therapist, and she was like, you're the prefrontal cortex for 4 people. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Like that's permission giving of why my bandwidth is what it is. But arguably, most women are the prefrontal cortex for multiple bodies, right? Even if you don't have your own children, arguably, as like caregivers, community people, like just being feminine energy in the first place, we operate as that for many people in our world, whether it's our parents, our siblings, our friends, our colleagues, it happens. Okay. So what was my point? My point was, if you don't look at stage 2 as a lead generator or a client attraction strategy, you will burn out and you will cap out your income at like 3 grand a month or 5 grand a month, and you will be frustrated. Make sense? You guys with me on that? So a lot of people will have the stage 3 offer, but they're not necessarily getting the enrollments in it because they're not looking at the stage 2 offer as client attraction for stage 3. So your business, there needs to be a flow and a journey and a positioning strategy. And arguably, again, this is controversial, like not everyone will agree with me on this, but I believe you should have the face-to-face time on stage 2, because that's your opportunity to position the stage 3. And if you don't get face-to-face time, the only chance you have to position stage 3 is through email and social media, which that's great. You should do that too. But face-to-face is always more effective, in my opinion, right? Being with someone and helping them to see and feel like, will this work for me or not, right? You can't really do it by email to the same degree. I mean, you can. I'm not going to knock email because I do love email, but it's not as unique as being like in front of the person, hearing their fears, their worries, their insecurities, and their specific desire. And then being like, okay, I see what your desire is. I see your energy patterns. And here's how I think you can get there. And I always do my positioning strategy of like, do it on your own, like this, as an option. And here's the pitfalls of that. And if you want my support, we can avoid those pitfalls. Because it's like, like for you guys, like, oh, you want to learn numerology? Great. You can learn numerology with me and I'll help you. Or you can pick up a numerology book and learn it yourself. The pitfalls of learning it yourself is you won't get the intuitive activations. You won't necessarily get the level of practice and connection. You won't have the community to like review, I did this and this is what happened, and it's like if it's a budget thing or if it's a time thing or whatever it is, you still have an avenue, right? But then it's like, oh, but I want the feedback and I want the connection and I want the intuitive practices and activations and I want to learn how to feel the numbers. Like, great, then that's this avenue for you. So when you're thinking of your offers, that concept that I just kind of described right there is positioning strategy. Any comments, questions about that so far? So when you're strategizing your stage 2, you really want to think through kind of what I just said of like, if the person ends their relationship with me now and all they have is stage 2, what are the benefits they have, but what are the potential pitfalls and shortcomings, right? Where will they fall through the cracks if that's as far as they go? And not all clients will fall through the cracks, but you'll know if you've done it enough times, right? Like if I go in and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, I'm going to get a Reiki session. If I go in and get one Reiki session, I might feel great for like a few days or a few weeks. But unless I go and have some consistent practices and make some changes, my anxiety is going to come back. But your clients may or may not be educated enough to understand that. And so it's our job to position. So if I'm the Reiki practitioner who's giving the Reiki session, I'll say to them, this is wonderful. You've experienced da 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 outcomes because you asked them and they told you. Here's how you can keep that going, right? On your own. Make sure you drink lots of water, make sure you take Epsom salt bath, make sure you work with essential oils, whatever. People will often backslide after a treatment because da 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 da, you know the answers because you're the expert. If you want to keep this going, what I recommend is a series of 5 treatments, or what I recommend is joining my lifestyle change support group, right? And that's the positioning of the thing. And then they get to say, great, thank you, or no, I'm good, right? And either way, it's fine. But at least now, if you don't tell them that, and like 4 days later, they go back to anxiety and they don't understand what's happening, what do our clients start to feel is, oh, it didn't work on me, right? Or I must be broken because it didn't work on me, right? Or I'm back to square one again. I suck, right? And that might be like a bit of hyperbole in how I'm saying that, but on some level, clients will blame themselves for a quote unquote failure when really it's because they just don't understand the journey. And if they understood the journey, they would get the success. And it's our job as the experts in the journey to make sure they get the journey. And I always want to kind of, I know I'm harping on this, but it's because people hear messaging and positioning and marketing and they immediately are like, oh, it's salesy and oh, it's this. It's like, no, it's helping your clients walk on a journey. And it's rude not to. Like, it's rude for them to leave the session and feel like crap 3 days later and not know why. Like, that's less kind than being clear on here's what most of my clients who experience anxiety go through. And here's how you can get, even more support on your healing journey. That's the kind way. It's also messaging, it's also positioning, and it's also marketing. It gets to be all of them. Makes sense? Does anyone have a new love and appreciation for sales and marketing because of this conversation? Because if you do, it'll make my day. I love it. Okay. So what is a stage two offer? A stage two offer, like I said, can be a video with a follow-up call, an intake form with a follow-up call. It can be a coaching session, a healing session, consultation, something, like I said, where it's not like a no-brainer price point for your people and they can, you know, get some progress on their goal. In numerology, there's kind of four ways I would use this. Number one, I would do a full numerology reading or a full numerology blueprint. A blueprint in and of itself is great, of like, this is your ruling number. These are the influences I see in your chart. Here's what season you're in. Here's what year you're in. Here's days that you should consider, not consider, whatever. That's great in and of itself. It's most powerful if you're speaking to a particular problem or goal. If you target the reading to a goal or a problem. So the person, like a problem might be like, I'm trying to heal my anxiety. Okay, that could be a problem. And so then they come to me and I'm like, okay, let me look at your numerology chart to figure out how we can heal your anxiety. And then I would spend the hour showing them in their chart what's available, or maybe not even the whole hour, because maybe it's like I can do that reading in like 20 minutes, and then I'm going to give them a 15-minute healing practice or something, right? That's where you get to kind of get creative with it. Or so solving a problem or helping them with a goal. They might come to you and say, I need to, what would be a goal? I want to grow my business by 10%, or I want to create a new offer to fit in my business model, or I want to build a website, or I want my husband to plan dates more, or I want my kids to do chores around the house without fighting over it, right? You can answer all of those questions through numerology blueprint. And like your proprietary system. Like you're like, oh, well, we have this brilliant chore chart. So here's what you need to know about your kids. Here's how to figure out their energy and what they're good at and what they're not good at and where they're going to fall apart. And take this system I've created using this chore chart, whatever it is. I don't even know. We don't use a chore chart. And there you go. There's your 1 hour together, right? And then it's up to us to know what's like the bigger next, but that's stage three. Okay. So the blueprint. Number two is forecasting. So forecasting is kind of would be my dominant or go-to when clients come and see me, because I do forecasts all the time for my people. Even clients who don't work with me in any of my group stuff or don't work with me on a one-on-one basis might come back once a year to get a forecast. And it's just like a reading of like, here's what's coming up for you. And then they'll usually tell me, oh, I'm going on a trip, or, oh, I've got this thing at work coming up. And they give me dates and I look at the dates and I look at their chart and I tell them what I see, how that's going to unfold, right? So it's a fun and easy offer that creates like repeat clients, which I love. And I've really up-leveled these this year, you guys. The people who join the certification, you guys are gonna have so much fun with this. I've created these numerology bots. I've trained them in my style of numerology. And how I use them is we sit on the call together and I give you your forecast. I take the transcript of what we talked about and I give it to the bot, and I've trained the bot in how to interpret it. The bot will turn it into a customized report for the client so that they get a written report after that tells them the summary, like on February 12th, da da da, on January 3rd, da da da, right? And now they've got this little cheat sheet to reference as well as the reporting from the call. Then what I do is I take those key dates and I record videos that are like 30 to 90 seconds long and schedule them to go out a couple of days before those critical dates. So now they're getting reminders throughout the year of what's coming up. It's a huge value add for your customers, but it really doesn't take any extra time to do it. In fact, Um, Tina's been around PNC long enough to remember that back in the day, I would tell people to write a report for their clients, and people would spend, I'm still going to encourage you to do this a few times from scratch because I think it's important to learn how. But people would spend 3 to 4 hours writing out a chart with all the information in it, which is good because you will channel a lot of it. Um, but it's not economical, efficient, or profitable to do that for all your clients unless they're paying you a lot. Because now a 1 hour numerology reading has turned into a half a day of poring over a chart. It's not, it's not sustainable, right? I will encourage people to do it to learn how it flows and to learn how to channel from the chart. Um, Even if you use voice dictation or speak it into a recording and then you get the transcript, put it in AI and AI writes the report for you. So I'll teach you how to do that. And like I said, I've created these bots that I'll be giving you guys to use that are trained in my style of numerology so that it's not, like when you're just using a generic chat GPT that's not trained, it's it can go rogue. It's happened. So anyways, that's going to be one of the things I'm adding to PNC, which I'm super excited about. Okay, forecasting. Number three for accessible price product is small group work. I've kind of referenced this before already. If you run circles, if you have masterminds, if you have anything where you've got groups of people gather on a once a month, once a week, once a quarter basis, you can now use numerology as the framework to give structure to what and how we work together, right? So if I was running a business mastermind in 2025, knowing the first quarter is 1, 2, 3 energy, I would give the mastermind key focuses that are 1, 2, and 3 actions, energy actions, and be like, here's the focus of our mastermind for the next 3 months. Here's what some tasks you can do. Here's how we can blah, 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 whatever. I've also doing, oh, Tina, you might enjoy this. I'm going to do some in-person numerology gatherings starting in February, where it's going to be super accessible, super low cost. It still is technically a stage 2 because I am going to charge for it, but I think I'm going to charge like $15, where every month people who want to tap in to set intentions for the month ahead, I will share the numerology of the month, give them some journaling prompts based on the numerology of the month, and we'll just sit together and set monthly intentions. It'll just be like an open gathering community circle, right? Doing that without a positioning strategy is not super profitable. Doing it with the positioning strategy can be incredibly profitable, right? So small groups. Number 4 is creating downloads. So depending on where your business is at, it might be helpful to create guides, products, and downloads. And you can create them with the vibes of numerology if you want. I keep using Anne Marie as an example, but it's because she's been a really long-standing client, so I have lots of stories to tell about her. And we're friends, so she texts me the updates all the time. But she created a journal where she put all the numerology in for the year ahead, and she sells it as a digital download and sells it on Amazon. So it's another income stream, another product. It's paid. It gets people to like play and explore numerology in different ways. And then she uses it as a resource in her paid business coaching platforms, right? And so it's like it can be anybody can order off of Amazon. They don't have to work with her. But if they order it, they play with it and they like go to her website or they download some of the, digital resources associated with it. Now they're on her email list and now she can position the next product to them, right? So those would be the 4 ideas for stage 2. Doing a blueprint, doing forecasting, small group work, creating a digital download. When you guys think about those 4 categories, which, if any, do you feel like will work to help you shape your stage 2 offer, accessibly priced product? I love the forecasting too. I am forecasting obsessed though. I look at my chart multiple times per week. I just forecasting obsessed. It's just what I do. But you know what it is? I think what it is there's so much uncertainty in the world right now. There's so much chaos and so much confusion. And we as humans have a certain level of need for some certainty and predictability in our lives. Like we need some uncertainty and some chaos, but not too much. And for those of us who feel like there's been a little too much chaos lately, forecasting can help rein it in so that our brain and our reticular activating system can start to seek out the patterns that are repeatable and predictable and find the opportunities in them, right? And so it's that like the forecasting gives you that lens of like, oh, here's the strength, here's the challenge. And so you're like, great, I'm gonna put on my glasses of looking for all the opportunities this month that are related to this number, right? Which is super helpful. Love that. Can make all four work. Forecasting group work, absolutely. Small groups, yes. I love small groups too. And again, like with all the twos, we need our connection. Okay, and then number three. Here we are at 2 o'clock. Like I said, if you have to run, that's fine, but I'll just keep going and you can catch the replay. So number three is the profitable, sustainable product. And it's going to have two key features or one of two key features. It's either leveraged, meaning it's not like you're necessarily exchanging hours for dollars. I mean, to some degree, you will be. But like if you have three people in your small group versus six people in your small group, it probably takes roughly the same amount of time, right? So it's slightly more leveraged. Sure, there's definitely like a bit more work to running a larger group versus a smaller group, but it's a lot more leverage than taking on three private clients versus six private clients or running a circle of three people versus six people, right? There's efficiencies there. So that would be an example, leveraged. The other sustainable strategy, profitable strategy is an ongoing relationship. So this would be like we're working together for 3 months, or we're working together through a specific 10-step process that takes maybe an undetermined period of time, right? Or, like, so it's like it's more of a contract or an agreement where you're not having to constantly get a new client every single month, right? Like if you have multiple private clients that have booked with you over a period of 3 to 6 months, you have some predictability and some sustainability there with sorting out your schedule and sorting out your time. Obviously, one-on-ones, you don't have the leverage, which you get in the groups, but with one-on-ones, you have the predictability. And if you kind of look at how this affects your bottom line, with groups, you tend to have income that goes like this, right? So like your group ends, the income's low. You launch a new group, the income's high. The group ends, your income's low. So it's fine if your groups are big enough that you can kind of income smooth and pay yourself an average every month so that you're not feeling this like up and down, right? And some people don't care. If you don't care about an up and down income, that's fine. Like if you're like, well, I have other income sources, so that doesn't matter to me. This is just extra. That's fine. Personally, for me, that's really stressful, right? Like I need to have a base level of predictability in my life. So clients who sign contracts, clients who work with me for 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever that looks like. Now I'm like, okay, I have two private clients booked over the next 6 months. No matter what happens with my groups, I know I have a base level of income of $2,000 a month. That's there, that's coming in. Okay, so anything I might get with my groups that's like this, it creates like an income smoothing to kind of have them both balanced, if that makes sense. Make sense? Okay, so what could your stage three offers look like? Group coaching is the classic example, or a group program, or some type of group system where it's like, oh, we've got these 6 steps we're working on together, or it's like my 3 month program in how to heal your anxiety naturally, or it's my whatever it is. And if you have a group program along those lines, chances are you kind of have like a methodology, or if you don't, I would recommend you create a methodology and like a system, a process that you follow. Again, you can use numerology to up level your system or your process, right? It's like, yeah, if a person's like working with me, I don't do this obviously, but like just say I'm a health coach and a person's working with me to like work out and I'm teaching them how to work out, I'm teaching about nutrition. Sure, there's basic factors that are universal truths. Like I don't know, you should eat more protein or you should get more fiber. Okay, that's probably universal. So that's fine. But like how I would support you as a 10 versus a 4 versus a 6 might be a little different, even though we're still following the same methodology, right? So group coaching, you can also create your sustainable proffer to be like an event of some sort. Whenever I run gatherings and events, I always look at the numbers of the day that I'm putting it in, the month that I'm putting in, no matter what. And depending on the number of participants, I will often also look at their charts. Even if it's a huge event with lots of people, I'm obviously not going to look at everybody's charts, but like let me at least look at a handful of them just to see what some of the common themes are, because then I can speak to that in how I develop the content around it, right? Um, but if you're running an event on, let's say, a 7-8-9 day, like a 3-day event on a 7-8-9 versus a 3-day event on a 2-3-4, the vibe of the event is going to be very different, whether you like it or not. So how you structure it, the space you give between sessions, the themes of the sessions are going to be to some degree influenced by that. And this happens unconsciously in a lot of events, right? But like, let's work with it versus kind of being at the whim of it, you know? Okay, what else? So I've got private coaching, private coaching. I've got group coaching. I've got an event or a mastermind, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. The other one I really love in the sustainable or in the profitable stage 3 is hybrid. And I do this with my business groups. I also kind of do it with my numerology groups, I guess, because when you sign up for the certification, you all get a private reading with me and you all get the group numerology training, right? In my business coaching program, it's the same thing. I give everybody a private business session where I create their business plan before the program starts so that they can take their business plan and they can actually implement it in the program. So those are hybrids. Other examples of hybrids might be like, oh, we meet as a group once a month together, the whole group, all of us. Like let's go back to the fitness and nutrition example. Once a month, we meet together to do our meal plan and to plan out our workouts for the month. And then 2 weeks later, you get your private session with me where you get to do a check-in and you get to tell me what's working, what's not working, and I can support you privately one-on-one with your more detailed concerns and questions. That would be like an ongoing hybrid if we met twice a month, once in a group, once privately. Okay. So there's different ways you can kind of play with this stage 3 profitable, sustainable offer. Most of it, like I said, is still going to be focused around either the blueprint or the birth chart. I use those names interchangeably, right? So the blueprint and the birth chart are the same thing, basically, or the forecasting. So depending on how I'm helping them, I'll either bring in their birth chart or the forecasting or some degree of both. Obviously, if they're working with me at stage 3, they've probably invested at a relatively high level. So that's where they get all the good stuff, right? That's where it's really easy to be of support and it's really easy to provide as much value as possible because there's a good exchange in place, right? There's a good exchange of their investment and my investment. And, this is a little side note, but when I think of the terminology around investment, to me, it is you can invest with time, with energy, or with money. And in order to create the best possible outcome, particularly at your stage 3 levels, you need to have a combination of all 3, right? Sure, there's some out of left field examples where it's like, oh, this one, no time, but I still got a good return on it. And I'm like, it could happen, But chances are, if you're really aware of the time, energy, and money invested, that is going to maximize the person's investment, which maximizes their ability to receive value out of the situation, right? So, like, and I'm not saying you have to charge more money for them to get more value, but like pick the fee and then think about what's the energetic and time investment that associates with that to maximize their benefit. So, and just being clear. And sometimes it's even a matter of telling them, right? Like an example would be in practical numerology. It's like, sure, you can just take the trainings and that's it. But if you take the trainings and you work with your buddy on the buddy readings, you will feel confident in your ability to read charts within like 3 to 4 weeks. If you don't do that, you don't invest the time to read with your buddies, it'll take longer, right? So it's like, oh, okay, that's going to maximize their return. Same with going back to the fitness example. It's like, okay, if you work out once a week, you'll get a certain type of outcome. And if you work out 3 days a week, you'll get a different kind of outcome. That's your time and your energy investment in the outcome that you desire. Um, Beautiful. Do you guys see how you can use numerology to up level your profitable offers? Do you see there's might be some opportunities to weave it in? Does anybody have any questions or want to talk through what's coming up for them in this little mini business training? I love this stuff as if you can't tell. You're welcome. Yes. Okay. If there's no questions, or if you guys do have questions and you want, if you do have questions, reply to one of my emails and let's hop on a call and we can talk about like flesh it out to see like, does this make sense in your current business model, what you're offering or what you'd like to add to it? We can talk that through. I'm happy to book calls with people, next week, whatever, we can sort that out. And I just wanted to give you the little update on the certification. So like I mentioned, it's an 8-week training. It starts the middle of February is when the classes start, but I would like to do your forecasts for you and your reports for you during the first 2 weeks of February. So we would book your one-on-one within the first 2 weeks of February. With practical numerology, you're a lifetime member. So like Tina's here, she'll can attend any of the calls she wants going forward, no matter what. I do not charge alumni fees. I do not charge fees when you're done. It's the one-time fee and then that's it. So any updates I make, like I'm going to put on all these AI bots, which I have not done in the past, to write your reports for you. So all of my past students get that as an update for free. So who knows what the future holds of how I will tweak and modify numerology, but as my skills and experience with it grow and I update the training, you get access to all the new stuff. So that's kind of the lifetime membership aspect of it. There's also a lot of people who are active in the group who have businesses. So sometimes there's comments around, oh, check out my, you know, landing page or the free training I'm offering or whatever. So you can get that kind of feedback as well if you're looking at it from a business standpoint. And then the other piece being the buddies. I mean, I mentioned this before, but I feel like I can't overstate it, how important it is on these journeys that we're on to have people in our corner, peers in our corner who are also on the journey as well, because those questions come up and you may not want to ask me. I mean, you can always ask me, but you might want to ask somebody else who's still like trying to figure it out and you want that feedback. The other thing that people will do is I'll assign buddies and that's great. You can work with your buddy. And like I mentioned, I have some clients who continued their buddy readings, even though it's been like, I don't even know, at least 3 years since they took the course. They still meet once a week with their buddy. But I also tell people if you want more practice, post in the group, I'm looking for another buddy and do a reading swap, right? Or I'm looking for a reading swap, or reach out to someone in the group and say, hey, do you want to trade? Because there's some brilliant people in the group who are using numerology in all different kinds of ways and all different niches, and it will spark something in you. It create a connection. It might create a collaboration. Do I have mentors? I wouldn't necessarily say like in an official capacity. But there are a ton of advanced. So in the training model that I have, I teach practical numerology and then I teach advanced numerology. So advanced numerology is a different system than this system. This system that I'm teaching is a Pythagorean numerology. Advanced numerology is a different system altogether. And so I will sometimes invite people to come and like guest teach on certain topics. So people who've come and guest taught in the past, I've had Anne Marie talk about some different things. I've had Kasha talk about some different things. Um, I'm blanking now, but oh, Karina will sometimes come in. She's a crystal master, so sometimes she'll come in and talk about how you can integrate crystals with your practices. Um, I don't know. Yeah, Renee, I'm like Tina, maybe you guys can think of other names that we've had people come in. It's usually based on like my inspiration. Sorry, what was that, Tina?
Jackie with EFT.
Yes, I've had Jackie come in and talk about EFT. I've had Kara Melendi come in and talk about astrology. Um, yeah. So, and if someone's looking for something, we're always open to like what that could look like. So I had someone ask me once a while back, um, I'm in a collaborative office of health practitioners. Can you do a group reading on how we can best collaborate, right? Like they have like a shared office. And so I decided to do the reading as like a recording that anybody could listen to. So it's in the classroom now. So if anybody is like, oh, how would I go about doing a group reading for like an office or a collaborative workspace? There's an example and you can listen to the whole thing of how we did it to kind of break down how that would look. We've done family charts before. We've done charts with children before, looking at like how you would parent based on this. We've done relationship charts before, although I always joke, don't ask me for relationship advice. Like I'm literally the last person you should be asking. So I can tell you what to look for, but I would like talk to someone who's got a good relationship. I'm single. So yeah, but we have there's so many like if people post like, oh, I'm thinking about this or have questions about that, we always get really good sort of feedback and engagement from our different numerologists. Even I posted a few weeks ago telling people that I was doing this training and that we were going to have this new training and I'm talking about the AI bots and a bunch of people are coming in saying, "Oh, this is perfect. I'm gonna, sign up again. I'm gonna do it again with you." So that's always available in that community. Um, yeah. So if you want a mentor hookup, let me know. If there's any specific topics you want, that's just a as request basis. The structure of the program is I teach on Mondays. I'm changing it to Mondays. I used to teach on Tuesdays. I'm going to teach on Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll teach an aspect of the chart on Monday. And then on Thursday, it's applied. So on Thursday, we'll either practice calculating it together. We will do Q&A about it. We will talk about how this plays out. We will talk about what does it look like. So the Thursday conversations are always interesting because you never know which direction it's gonna go, but it's always fun because there's always some kind of theme that ends up emerging and yeah, everything's recorded so you can access all the recordings. Like I said, I have resources and guides in PDF that you can, I mean, if you put them all together, they would be a book. You can look up the meanings of different things and like charts that you can work from. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for me now? I'll turn off the recording so that you don't have to worry if you're asking.